you very much for giving us your time here on CNBC TV 18 yet again, and welcome to India.
Yeah, it's nice to be back. I was here, I guess, about a year ago. I
In 23.
Oh, with 20. Yep, you know.
Yeah. Thank you very much for giving us your time here on CNBC TV 18 yet again, and welcome to India.
Yeah, it's nice to be back. I was here, I guess, about a year ago.
In 23.
Oh, with 20. Yep, you know better than I do. So I was here 2 years ago. I get around the world a lot. I travel for a living, as you might guess. I'm probably on the road about 80% of the time, and so I may not have made the rotation through India last year, but I get here quite frequently, and I'm very excited to be here this week.
And it's good to have you here. But, before we get down to some of the business, for our audience, just briefly take us through who is Christopher Netta. What was your first job in hospitality? What really got you going in the industry, and your moment where you said, this is it, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, that's interesting. Nobody probably is going to be interested in it, but I'll tell you, as I've said many times, my career in hospitality started in the toilet.
Yeah, in plumbing, I hear.
Well, in a form of plumbing. When I was 16 years old and I needed to have a job because, my parents said, if you want to have money, you need to work because we're not going to give you allowance and the like. I said, I'm interested in the hotel business, and they helped me find my way to a hotel. And I was at the lowest level in the hotel as the lowest level person in the engineering department, which meant I had a lot of work to do with clogged toilets and lots of other things. But that's how I technically got started, but then I went and got an education. I went to the McIntyre School of Commerce at the University of Virginia. I have a degree in finance, and I got out and I got into the real estate development business, but focused initially in hotels and a lot of other spaces within real estate. And throughout, 15 years, I guess, I was doing things in and around the hotel space, and I was doing things outside the hotel space in both finance and real estate. And I kept realizing, that there was a gravitational pull that, that one way or another, I ended up sort of finding my way back dedicated to the hotel business. And so after a while, I said I really shouldn't fight the gravity, that it's an industry that I love. I was always fascinated by it from the time I got started in as a teenager, but just the complexity of the model from an operating point of view, from a finance point of view, from a branding, a commercial, and every other element of what makes the business tick. And most importantly, just how global it is I very much love traveling and seeing the world and view myself as a global citizen. And so it sort of fit the bill, but it was not, I started at very low levels. I went into a bunch of different, related areas, and then ended back in the business for all the right reasons.
The T word these days, the trade and tariff concerns and the huge uncertainty that brings in, talks of a recession in some of the largest economies, and slowdowns are not good for any business, least of all travel and tourism and hospitality. How's 2025 shaping up for you? We heard your earnings con call that the weakness you saw in the first quarter continuing to seep into the second quarter as well.
We did. I mean, we definitely saw a bit of a slowdown as we got mainly to the end of the first quarter, really in March. And that has seeped into April. But it hasn't continued to decline, and it's still showing in the United States and in almost every market around the world, positive growth. And so the way I think about it is we still feel quite constructive about the way this year is going to play out. You've looked at our earnings. We brought our overall guidance down a little bit
to 2%,
to reflect, to reflect what's going on. But we brought it down also reflective of the fact that we think when the year is done, we're going to have positive growth. There is a lot going on around the world. You know, there are geopolitical issues, tariff issues, macroeconomic issues that come as a result of that. But I think when you lift way up, and still the United States is the biggest market we have, it still drives 75% at the moment. It will go low over time. That drives 75% of our earnings capacity. I think, you know, markets are funny things. Like, they can tend to overreact. And so, you know, my own view is that, you know, the sort of the risks of downside, upside are pretty equally weighted.
Okay.
And what the market has been saying more recently, well, up until a few weeks ago, is it was more weighted to the downside. There's a common theme in how I look at life, which is lift up, stay steady, you know, don't panic. You know, that this administration, the president want to get better deals, but they want to make trade deals, and that they do want to settle things down, and that they do want the economy to be strong, but on the right basis. So I would say markets are generally pretty efficient. The market's saying, all right, I think we might be headed in a way that we're pivoting to a little bit more, you know, sort of a little bit less uncertainty. And that, you know, markets don't like uncertainty. That's what you saw in the equity markets. That's what you saw in the bond markets. And the reason you've seen those sort of pivot back around a bit is there's not total certainty, but there's a little bit more certainty. So when I look at it, like when we end the year, I think we will end the year with positive growth in the world. I think we'll end the year with positive growth in the United States. And then if you look at, you know, you look at our model is really spectacular because we're basically a consumer branded business, a capital light business. You know, we have same store growth and then unit growth, and you know, you add those two together, and that's sort of how we get to bottom line growth. Our unit growth numbers are really strong across the world. So we opened 2 hotels a day last year in the world. We have the biggest pipeline. We signed more deals than we ever have in our history last year. We started more hotels under construction than any year in our history. So we come into the year with a lot of wind in our sails in the sense of our unit growth. So there's a teeny bit of uncertainty on same store, but keep it in perspective. Our unit growth numbers are 6 to 7. So they're the disproportionate part of the earnings driver, and our unit growth is performing quite well and is quite resilient.
Yeah, you know, but like you said, last 2024 is probably one of your best years. 2 hotels a day is the number that you're talking about. But, you know, now, especially in the leisure category, what is the kind of impact that you expect to see play out until this period of uncertainty really passes? I mean,
leisure was sort of normalizing before all this. If you think about it, coming out of COVID, pretty much everywhere in the world. It turns out when you know, lock people in their basement in their closets, you know, they can't go out, then you let them loose. They really want to go out and have fun. Loose, Funny how that happens, but it did happen. So you had this huge release of pent-up demand that you know, came in the form of leisure business, where leisure, both from the standpoint of occupancy, but definitely price, rate, was way over any sort of pre-COVID norms. What we've been seeing for the last year, you know, year and a half, really mostly over the last year and coming into this year, is a normalization where we're sort of going back to the normal
The pent-up demand has been met.
The pent-up demand has, I think, largely been met. If you look at like the ratio of leisure business to our overall business, it's not quite back to where it was pre-pandemic, but it's getting awfully close. So I don't really think that there's fundamentally anything wrong with leisure. There was a normalization going on. Now, I'm not going to say, like at the end of the first quarter and a bit of the second quarter in the United States and maybe in parts of the Western world generally, there was a little bit of caution in the air because of uncertainty on trade policy, et cetera, that was accentuating it a bit, but I wouldn't say dramatically. I think that was happening all on its own. At the same time, what's happening and continuing to happen is business travel, which had taken longer to come back, is coming back. And meetings and events, which are longer lead time business, continue to chug and churn and continue to go up. So again, when you blend it all together, I think you're going to see in the world, in the United States, at some point I hope we'll talk about India, because India is leading the world to a large degree. But I think you'll see it be positive. I think you'll see all segments, business transient, leisure transient, and meetings and events on a global basis be higher than they were last year.
Sure.
Leisure, not by much. Business next, and meetings and events the highest.
Let's talk about what brings you to India.
That's why I'm here, to talk India.
Well, what brings you to India? And give us a sense of the size of the opportunity you see here since the last time. Let's talk about what brings you to India.
That's why I'm here, to talk India.
Well, what brings you to India? And give us a sense of the size of the opportunity you see here since the last time you've been here. Whether it's a big fat Indian weddings, it's the demand for your Waldorf, Astoria property also coming up in India soon. Give us a sense of the segments that you're going to focus on and how large the market could be for you.
India is, I think, the biggest opportunity in the world at the moment, and not just for this moment, but I would say, as I tell my team and I tell my board of directors, I think for the next 10, 20, 30 years. And why is that? I mean, for the obvious reasons. You're here and a very large population, a very large middle class already, but growing at a high rate. A population that want experiences. By the way, that's sort of a global phenomenon, but true here as well. And a travel industry, particularly in the hotel space, that's really in its nascent stages of development. If you look at other more mature travel and hospitality markets around the world, if you look at it, India in the next 5+ years will become the number 3 travel market in the world in India. In that same time frame, will become the number 4 outbound market in the world. So as I think about it, okay, we need to win in India to win on both fronts, right? There's a huge opportunity to serve the Indian population in India, so we need to be here. We need to be present across all price points so we can build network effects so that because people have all sorts of different needs. And we need the Indian customers here in India to love our brands so that when they leave India, as they become the number 4, and then I suspect the number 3 and growing number in outbound business, that they want to stay with us when they go to America, when they go to Europe, when they go to the Middle East or Africa, wherever they may travel. And so it's very much for us about building a real network effect. So that means in India, that means we got to have Spark all the way up to Waldorf Astoria. You mentioned both. We got to have premium economy to luxury. We got to be in primary city centers. We got to be in resort destinations. We have to be in secondary and tertiary locations because Indian travelers, just like American travelers, European travelers, Asian travelers, they have needs for all of those different price points and products depending on what's going on in any particular stay occasion, and we have to be able to serve it. The more that we can serve any need for any travel need they have anywhere they want to be within India, the more with good products and service, the more loyal they will become to us. When they become loyal to us here, when they leave here, they stay with us in other parts of the world.
But in your words, the market is pretty underserved by Hilton. At the moment, you have about 32 properties
That's why
and
I'm here.
five brands,
And
yes?
that's why I'll be back again this
So
year.
tell us, how many of your 28 global brands do you think would be in India in the next, say, 5 years or so? And what proportion of your overall revenues do you think India could generate outside of the US, which of course is your largest market?
Listen, we have 5 brands here today. We have a very small footprint here today, in my opinion. We have 60 hotels open or in the pipeline, which is actually quite good progress over the last few years. We've just signed 2 big MLAs, one with Spark, one with Hampton. That's 225 hotels. We've signed 3, we're a letter of intent on 3 Waldorfs and a whole bunch of other things. I think we easily, with deals that are real, will be 10x where we are today over the next 7 to 10 years. That's still not enough, but that is going to start to help us build a real network effect because, as I said, Spark is premium economy and secondary and tertiary markets, Waldorf Astoria and the major urban and resort destinations, Conrad and otherwise. And so the ultimate goal is, I think, to be able to serve travelers in this market with this size population over a very long span of time. It should be thousands of hotels. I mean, you scale it. We have 5,000 plus hotels, 5,600 in America with 325 million population. So, I mean, if you really think about India over the long span of time, I doubt I'll live long enough to see it, but you know, it should be thousands and thousands of hotels. For me, at the moment, it's really getting to hundreds of hotels that are at the different price points and in the different market segments so that we can start to build a real network effect. And I think it's not unreasonable to think. In fact, if we don't, I'll consider it a failure. This will be our 3rd biggest market in the world over the next 10 years. I mean, it really needs to be, should be, and certainly my strategy in what we're investing in terms of people and resources, commercially and otherwise, is to make it the 3rd biggest market in the world.
Well, that's good to hear. Hopefully we'll see it over the course of the next few years. But when you talk about your global expansion strategy, I think when you took over, it was about 70, 76 hotels globally to now, you're now in about 140 countries from what I read.
We are.
What are the hottest markets for Hilton right now, where you're looking to expand? Of course, apart from India that you spoke about at length.
I mean, it's interesting. We want to win everywhere because in the end, we're trying to be able to serve any customer for any need they have, for any trip occasion they have, anywhere in the world they want to be. So that, there is no, one place that we're, that we're interested in growing. We're interested in growing everywhere. I mean, even the United States, where we have a huge density, 5,000 plus hotels. By number of hotels, we'll open more hotels in the United States in the next 3 to 5 years than anywhere on earth, just because there's still a lot of markets that we're not in. There's segments, like we're just getting going with Spark as an example, Live Smart, which will come here eventually too, is a brand new, we haven't even opened our first hotel. Europe, is ripe for opportunity for us because it is a very fragmented market. The Middle East is on fire. The opportunities there as they try and diversify their economies and build, a base of employment beyond, what has been there in terms of oil. They're investing huge amounts of money, whether that's UAE, KSA, so huge opportunities. The whole African continent is, ripe with opportunity. All of Asia Pacific,
Well, we've covered all continents, I think.
And I won't forget, Caribbean and Latin America, where I think we have a huge opportunity. So it's basically the world. And again, the whole strategy is network effect. Where we want to be is where our customers tell us they want to be, and with the kind of product that they're looking for. And we have a lot of data to help us figure out. Like, people are coming on. We serve 250 million people a year. 10 years from now, that'll be 500, 600 million people. We have 225 million honors members. We have a lot of data on what they're looking for when they can't find what they're looking for. We know where we're not serving them, and we're very strategic and scientific about how we go about our development strategy to figure out where are the places people want to go the most, at what kind of product, price point, what kind of micro locations, et cetera. So it's a very, there's a lot of granular analysis that goes into sort of developing our strategy.
Did you see the White Lotus?
I do. I love the White Lotus. Although I think I shouldn't say this publicly, but I liked season 1 and 2 better than 3.
Not so
although
much
I
as...
found it, I found it interesting. And being in the hotel business, a couple of my kids were watching it. They live in different cities, so we were sort of watching it at the same time. I think it's sensational, but if you're in the hotel business, it's sort of hard not to want to watch it. It was very entertaining. I will give credit to the writers, producers, actors, actresses. They did a great job. It was very entertaining.
But any regrets that it wasn't shot at one of the Hilton properties?
No, well, you never know. Someday, maybe. Someday, no.
Is there any conversation, do you think? Because, it sparked this cultural moment around leisure travel. Has that in any way influenced, or, how you think about branding, marketing, about traveling?
I think it's brilliant that they did that. We're not having any real conversation, but
all right.
You never know. Life is long.
For someone who's been in the hospitality business for that long, what is the best kept industry secret that perhaps only the insiders know and guests rarely notice?
Gosh, there are, I think I have all my little pet peeves there, like chargers, got to have chargers by all the beds, night lights, if you're a middle-aged man and you got to get up in the middle of the night and you're in a strange place, every room needs a night light and not all of them have it. But I always love I can't take credit for it. Our founder said it on Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show when he was on it 50 years ago or whatever, and Johnny Carson asked our founder, what's the best advice? What's sort of the one pet peeve you have? And Conrad Hilton said, if you could just remember to put the shower curtain inside the shower when you take a shower, it'd be really helpful.
Well, it's really the little things that make a difference. But what's the first thing you notice when you walk into a hotel room?
Oh my! I notice everything. I drive my teams crazy. I'm a detail fanatic, and so I notice everything. Smell. I have a very keen sense of smell. One of the few gifts I was given. So I first recognize that. The lighting, basic, cleanliness, those are the things those things I look for. Does it smell fresh? Does it have the adequate lighting? Is everything really, really tight? Is the fit and finish right? And then I zone into every little detail.
Do you sometimes anonymously walk into Hilton properties to just see how things are actually running? And
all the time.
What is the most bizarre thing you've come across?
It's not, and I don't mean to sound, this sounds like I'm being egomaniacal, and I'm not. I think people that know me will tell you I hope I have a very low ego, but it's gotten very hard for me to walk into any hotel anonymously. I do it frequently, like I'm just traveling and I might even be on vacation. I'm like, well, I might as well go see a couple of hotels, but they're kind of on to me now. It doesn't take very long before they
figure out. Would you say the hospitality industry is getting younger or older in both spirit and talent?
I think it's getting younger. I think the world's getting younger, which is a nice thing to see as a father of 6 young women that are making their way in life. I think the world has turned in, to much more of a meritocracy. And I think so has our industry. Our industry, I think, used to be, I've been doing this for 40 years, used to be, you had to do the following 20 things before you could become a general manager or get into a certain corporate role. And you still need experience. I'm not saying that the world's given up on experience, but I think there's a lot more of a opportunity in today's day and age to really look for high potential talent that maybe hasn't checked every single box that might have had to have been checked in the past, and give younger people, an opportunity for upward mobility at a faster rate. And so there's no question. I look at our company, the average age is a good example. Average age at Hilton World Headquarters is, what would you guess?
25?
No, it's a little older than that. It's 28. 28. But that's still, I thought, pretty good.
Think about succession.
We spent a lot of time on succession, as you would think. We're a public company. We have an extraordinary board of directors that is super diligent, chaired by John Gray, who's president of Blackstone. And I think one of the many, but I think my own view is one of the most important responsibilities of a board, and for that matter, a CEO, is to make sure that you have thought about succession so that whatever momentum you have is going to continue on and into the future. And so we're really thoughtful about it, and we have done a lot of work in terms of building layers of talent within our organization to make sure that we are preparing people at various levels in the company and for sort of different time frames to make sure that we have great continuity. And so I feel good about it. I think our board feels good about it. I intend to do this for a lot longer, but that doesn't mean we haven't made sure that we've been really thoughtful about it.
And it's wonderful to hear it. Chris, thank you so much for giving us so much time and sharing all these wonderful stories with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll be back soon.
Well, we hope to see you again. Thank you. Thanks very much.